Hey everyone, my name is Dennis, and I am going to be taking you through your very first guitar lesson. So that means if you've never ever picked up a guitar before in your life and you'd like to learn how, here we are. This is the place to come. So, the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to become oriented with our instrument. So we want to know each part of the guitar. Starting here, we have the body. In this case, an acoustic guitar. So this is where all the sound resonance is going to happen, and this is where the volume of the instrument is going to occur. Moving up, we have the fretboard. This is where the tonality of the guitar comes from. This is our mechanism for playing notes. Further up, we have the headstock. This is where the tuning of the instrument happens. Guitars are pretty fickle instruments, so this is a very, very important part of the instrument. Now, a standard guitar is tuned in what's known as standard E tuning. So, going from the bottom string to the top string, the strings are E, A, D. So E, E, A, D, G, B, E. Now, the way I like to remember this is just the simple phrase, Ed ate dynamite, goodbye Ed. Now, the reason that I use that one, there are a whole bunch of other ones that other instructors will use or other players will use. The reason I use that one is because it's so wacky and so out there, it's very hard not to remember something as ridiculous as Ed ate dynamite, goodbye Ed. So it's just one of those mechanisms of remembering. Now, before we start our warm-up, because it's always very important to warm up before practicing or playing, we're going to talk about how to hold the pick. Now, different players will hold it different ways. I'm just going to show you one way to start off with, and you can toy around with whichever pick grips you like. And in this case, we will be learning to play the guitar using a pick. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to make a sort of Captain Hook shape with our index finger on our right hand. If you play just a normal right-handed guitar, you're going to place your finger like so, and the pick lays on top, and we're just going to secure our thumb like so. Now this gives us a pretty secure but relaxed grip on our pick. So, warming up. It's a very, very important part of playing and learning how to play the guitar. You're going to create for yourself where you're going to learn how to warm up in different ways using different exercises. We're just going to start you with one for this lesson. It doesn't really have a name. What we're just going to do is we're going to pick the first 4 notes on each string. So each of these little spaces, they're what's known as frets. So this being the first and this being the fourth, we are going to play frets 1, 2, 3, 4. And with our pick, we're just going to strum downwards once. And we're going to strum downwards 4 times per string, but we're just going to strum down. So, to demonstrate, slowly, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to do that on each string, just so we get our fingers warmed up and sort of accustomed to playing on the strings, and we're going to get our grip nice and settled. We're going to get our pick nice and settled in our grip, okay? So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to set a metronome, and we are going to try and do this in rhythm this time. So let's set one in our head. 1, 2, 3, 4. If that was a bit too fast for you, that's perfectly okay. What we can do is we can just rewind the video and we can start again, and you can set your own speed and you can set your own pace. Now, a very important thing to keep in mind in this warm-up is you're going to try and focus on getting those notes clean, okay? So without any buzzing. Now, that may take a little while. Again, that's fine. That's completely expected with your first time playing the guitar. These are steel strings, and your fingers will need some time to build up some callus and some resistance to that. So, after we get done with that warm-up, we are going to work on the notorious thing that every new guitar player wants to learn is chords. And I thought, just as an introductory lesson, I would give you the 4 foundational chords, in my opinion, in order to start learning how to play the guitar. The 4 chords we are going to learn are G, D, E minor, and C. So, we're going to start with learning how to play the easiest chord on the guitar, and that is an E minor. It's a good starting place. Now, an E minor, we can already find the notes of an E minor just by strumming certain open strings on the guitar. So, if you were to strum the bottom E string and then the top 3, and if you were to do that in quick succession, those are the notes that make up an E minor chord. But if we were to just strum the guitar open, we wouldn't be playing it. So, on the 2nd fret, so we count 1, 2, 2nd fret, and on the A and D strings, so that's the 2nd and 3rd string from the top. This is the top, this is the bottom. So from the top down, we're playing strings A and D on the 2nd fret, and we're going to use our 1st finger and our 2nd finger. Now in guitar playing, we have only 4 because we're not using our thumb on our left hand, so we only have 4. So this is the 1st and this is the 4th. So on our 1st and 2nd fingers, we're going to play on the 2nd fret on the D and A string, and we're just going to try and strum that open. That is your 1st chord. Congratulations. Now, don't get phased out if it sounds a little buzzy or it sounds a little bit muted. That's perfectly fine and to be expected. Just keep on working at it, stay consistent, and persevere, and you will get that chord to sound nice and open. The next chord we are going to learn, it's a bit of a stretch, but I'm pretty sure we're going to do it. And if you've got any kind of motivation to learn how to guitar, you're going to push through and you're going to learn how. So, the next chord we're going to learn how to play is a G chord. Now, there are a couple different ways to play this. I'm going to start you out with a relatively simple way of playing it. This requires your first 3 fingers, okay? So, on the low E string, so the closest to your face, we are going to use our 2nd finger, so this one right here. We're going to put that on the 3rd fret of the low E string, because there are 2 of them. So, low E, you're going to have our 2nd finger on the 3rd fret. Then we are going to have our 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the A string. So, to recap, we have that G, that 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the E string, and then we have our index finger on the 2nd fret of the A string. Lastly, we are going to take our ring finger, or a 3rd finger, and put it on the 3rd fret of the high E string. So that's on, this chord is mostly based on the 3rd fret, with 1 finger on the 2nd fret, and that's on the A string. And that chord sounds like this. Now, That may be a stretch for your fingers at first, but again, that's to be expected if this is your first time picking up the guitar. So, once again, that's what we're sounding like. So, fast. Next chord we are going to learn is the D chord. Now this can be deceptively tricky because your fingers are actually quite close together. So, this we're playing on the bottom half of the string set of the guitar, okay? These are the skinniest and shiniest strings that we're learning on. So, our index finger is going to go on the 2nd fret of the G string. That's right here. Our ring finger on our left hand is going on the 3rd fret of the B string. Our 2nd finger in this case is going to go on the 2nd fret of the high E string, making a D chord. Now, it's important that we only start strumming from the D string down. Because if we include these 2 bottom strings here, it sounds a little bit mucky. So it's best that we start good habits early. With your first lesson, make sure when you're playing the D chord, you're starting on the D string. And we strum down like so. Again, it's deceptively tricky, and it's a deceptively tricky place to get your fingers fit into. So take your time. Be persistent, be patient, it will come with time. Now the last chord we're going to learn is the C major chord. Now C, it's a bit of a stretch for our fingers, but again, I'm sure we can do it. So, start off, we have our ring finger, that's being placed on the 3rd fret of the A string. Our 2nd finger, or our middle finger, is going to go on the 2nd fret of the D string. Our index finger is going to go on the 1st fret of the B string, with a total chord of... Now, like the D, we have to make sure that we start from the C note that we're playing with our 3rd finger. So if we include the E, it doesn't sound as bad, but we want to sound it clean. That's a very important point that I'm trying to get across here, is that whatever you play on your guitar, your goal should be to get that nice and clean note. So, once again, that's how it should sound. So, our ring finger is on the 3rd fret of the A string. Our 2nd finger is on the 2nd fret of the D string, and our index finger is on the 1st fret of the B string. So to recap, the four chords that we've just learned are E minor, G, D, and C. Now, if you're just starting to play the guitar, I say it again, it's going to be a little bit difficult. That's to be expected. It might not sound the exact way that I've just played it. It's not going to sound that clean on your first go. Sorry. It's going to sound mucky, it's going to sound buzzy. That's fine. That's how every guitar player has started. Stay patient, stay positive. It's me signing off. Enjoy.